Cinemassacre's Monster Madness.
This week, we'll be talking about the Alien franchise. When I say Alien, you know exactly what I mean, and that's the power of this film. It takes a title that's as generic as Alien and makes it into a household name. We'll start with the first Alien film, directed by Ridley Scott. It was released in 1979 at the heels of horror blockbusters like The Exorcist, Jaws, and most recently, Halloween. The horror genre is a genre that usually doesn't get much respect, but with all these films of the 70s, they were finally able to get mainstream attention. Much like Halloween, Alien is a slasher film about a killer with a body count. The only difference is that the killer is an extraterrestrial life form, and the setting is in outer space, where, as the tagline says, no one can hear you scream. It's brilliant. The plot is simple. A cargo ship returning to Earth picks up a signal from a nearby planet or moon, and they go down to investigate on company orders. They bring back an alien on board which gets loose and starts killing the crew. That's the basic gist. Doesn't sound too original, does it? It's the same plot as It, The Terror from Beyond Space. A space crew picks up an alien and it goes on a killing spree aboard the ship. Alien is a rehash of old ideas, but it's done so well that it feels fresh and new. When they arrive on the surface of the planet, they find the wreckage of an alien ship that crashed long ago. Just seeing the image of the ship, there's something strong and foreboding about it. Somehow it helps looking at it through that fuzzy monitor. What a memorable scene. As they approach the ship, you just know that something bad is going to happen. It's no different from the classic haunted house scare. Don't go in the house. Don't go in there, you're gonna die. Once they go inside, it continues to get more interesting. We explore the ship's dark secrets, but don't get any clear answers. We see a giant room which we assume is the cockpit. In the pilot's seat is a fossilized alien creature with a hole in its chest. I'll never forget that slow zoom in on the face. We never figure out what this thing is, but we know that something bad happened there. Then we discover a bunch of eggs that the ship was carrying. Why was it carrying these eggs? Well, that's the beauty of this film, that nothing is explicitly answered, and the more times you view it, the more guesses you can make. Ridley Scott said on the commentary track that these eggs, which soon we learn contain a deadly life form known as the facehugger, which plants an egg inside of its host, but don't let me get ahead of myself. He said that the aliens that were flying the ship were probably transporting these eggs somewhere to use as a weapon. Against what? There's already one type of alien that we don't learn much about, not until the film Prometheus, but we'll get to that later. But also, there's something else out there, and probably something beyond that. The point is, it's a never-ending story, and it makes the universe seem so much larger, something that only the best science fiction films manage to do. Anyway, there's a lot of suspense going on here. Nothing happens for a long time. Not many films could get away with that. The audience will get bored. But here, nothing is ever boring. It lures you in to its first surprise. It startles you without any excessive music, and I think it works so well because it takes so long before it gets to this point. And when the egg hatches, it looks so realistic. There's nothing cheesy about it. It looks organic and real. Just the same as the character is curious to see inside, so are we. So they bring this guy back to the ship with this creepy thing attached to his face. They can't get it off. It bleeds acid, which burns through several floors of the ship. Already, this is pretty terrifying, but then the facehugger dies and falls off on its own, but not before planting an egg inside the body. So, basically, he's been impregnated, and the facehugger is like the rapist of the universe. But then everything's fine. Oh, wait.
I'm eating this.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
It's fucking horrifying. And it still is. I can't think of anything more disturbing than a living creature inside your body ready to burst out. So now there's a little alien running around the ship somewhere. But guess what? It also grows really fast. It seems that only a few minutes pass before it's bigger than a human. What's so clever about this is that unlike a lot of the alien movies from the 50s, this alien is always changing its appearance, so you're always wondering what it looks like. In all the other movies, you see the monster once, and from that point on, you know what it is. How about the jaw inside the jaw? That's pretty freaky, isn't it? The creature was designed by H.R. Giger, and it's one of the scariest looking monsters ever put to film. The production design by Michael Seymour is also excellent. Every shot is a work of art, and you feel completely immersed in this world. Can you believe those are glass paintings? The ship is a dark and claustrophobic maze. It's disorienting. I don't think I'd ever be able to find my way around that place. That's another deep fear it preys on, the feeling of being trapped in one place. In real life, very few people get the chance to go in outer space, but I wonder if everyone had the opportunity, how many people would actually want to do it? The concept of trapping a bunch of people in a place that's away from civilization is not new. In the old dark house, a bunch of strangers gather in a house while a really bad storm rages on outside, and a landslide blocks the road. In The Thing from Another World, it's a bunch of scientists on an expedition in the North Pole surrounded by nothing but ice and snow. In Jaws, they're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's all the same. Whether it's a shark or an alien coming to get you, you're stuck with it. There's nowhere to go. I still think the movie is stronger before the alien starts killing people, because after that, it sort of becomes victim to some of its horror trappings. When the engineering technician Brett goes wandering off on his own, we know that he's going to get killed. It's very predictable. This is only a minor weakness in the overall film. My point is, I like the first act better for its slow and suspenseful build-up. Interesting to think that I like when nothing is happening better than when stuff is happening. It's one of the first science fiction movies to realistically show space travel. There were only few films before it that had such great special effects, like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Star Wars. It was also one of the first to show artificial intelligence in such a convincing way. One of the members on the ship turns out to be an android. He's very advanced, almost identical to a human. This was before Terminator. The company's secret mission, unknown to the crew, was to capture and bring back one of the aliens. The android Ash was programmed to make sure that the mission is a success. I used to hate this part. I thought it was an unnecessary attempt to give the movie a twist, to differentiate it from its B-movie trappings. But now I think it's one of the more interesting aspects of the film. The company wanted the alien to use as a weapon, just like the other aliens on the ancient shipwreck, so history repeats itself. And what a scary concept, to use that thing as a weapon? Dropping one of those eggs on an enemy territory would be worse than an atom bomb. The aliens would wipe out any population. Now, assuming the company knew what kind of aliens existed on this planet and sent an unprepared crew over there, how did they plan to bring it back and how would they control it? Obviously, it was a half-cooked scheme and it wasn't successful. And to use those aliens against your enemy would only be spreading a new enemy that's even worse. The characters are very convincing. Usually in these science fiction movies, the people who fly ships are super intelligent, speaking a lot of high-tech jargon, but here they're just common working people. Flying a ship is just like driving a truck. That's how far into the future we are. Our star is Sigourney Weaver, playing Ripley. She's the last survivor, just like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. Usually the macho hero character was always a guy, but this movie showed us that a female can be just as badass, so it broke new grounds. To sum up Alien, it's distinctly a horror film and a science fiction film. It perfectly balances the two, and in both categories reaches its full potential. Now, we're going to talk about the rest of the Alien franchise, but what about Prometheus? I guess I'll never get the chance to talk about it, so I might as well cover it now. Technically, it's not a sequel, nor is it a prequel to Alien. It's just a film set in the same universe that runs parallel to it. Prometheus, released in 2012, attempts to shed some light on what was that creature in the cockpit. Ridley Scott returned to direct and to further explore his universe that he created 33 years ago. Even though the film was made 33 years after Alien, it's set about 30 years before it. If you haven't seen this movie, you might consider some of this to be spoilers, so if you want to see the movie for yourself, then just, turn off the video now. Go watch the movie. Archaeologists discover a star map in a cave that leads them to a distant moon where they discover the same kind of ship that was discovered in Alien. Here we learn about the space jockeys, as they're called. They're referred to as engineers and supposedly created human life on Earth. That's a pretty interesting concept. To summarize the rest of the plot would be to explain every weird thing that happens in this movie. It has a scene that is just as disturbing, if not more disturbing, than the original Alien chestburster. This time, the heroine must remove a different kind of alien from her womb. It's shown in excruciating detail, and man, is it horrific. To sum up what I like about it, it's the production design once again. I love the world that this movie inhabits. It's a feast to the eyes. Beyond that, it's a good science fiction thriller, but not as groundbreaking and will probably not go down in history as a classic as much as Alien did. This film is still pretty recent, so I need more time to evaluate it and let it sit with me. It has some strengths and some weaknesses. There's one little detail that I really hate. One of few concrete things I can actually point my finger at. Why couldn't they get an old man to play an old man? About its connections to Alien, this is something that fooled a lot of people into thinking this was going to be a prequel leading into the events of Alien where we find that shipwreck. Nope, this is not the same ship. Sure, it crashes at the end of the film, and this looks like the same moon, but it's not. This is LV-223. That was LV-426. Ooh. Any casual viewer would assume that this is trying to connect the dots to Alien, but nope. They leave it wide open for another sequel. The first thing to tip you off is that the space jockey doesn't die in the cockpit, and when that alien bursts out of his chest, of course we'd all like to think that this is the first alien of its kind, the xenomorphs. But nope, this alien has nothing to do with the eggs on LV-426 and whatever it was that came out of the pilot's chest. Remember, he was fossilized, and that ship crashed thousands of years ago. Prometheus only takes place 30 years before Alien. Not to mention, we see murals on the walls showing the xenomorphs, meaning they must have existed long ago. It's no wonder why everyone was confused. Well, anyway, let's get on with the Alien films.